Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Anna Dives podcast. And today's episode will be super relatable if you've got a home to run and children to take care of. And we're talking about how to find and keep a good nanny. It's actually not as easy, is it? Because if you've been there in the ghetto of nannies coming in and out, housekeepers in and out, and all the dramas that can come with managing another person, you know, it's important to know. And we have the perfect expert to tell us how to find and keep a good nanny. But before we get into it, I just want to appreciate you for taking the time to be here and listen and watch this podcast episode. And you know what would really make my day is if you left a review. Just leave a review, whether it's on YouTube or on any podcasting platform that you listen your podcast on. Leave a review and remember to subscribe. So let's get into it. I want to introduce our guest today, Racheal. She's an expert in recruiting professionals, blue-collar professionals, and she's done it for several years. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So how and where do we find these people? Because it's not easy.
That's a good question. Probably you'll also help me answer that.
Yeah.
I think the truth is, unlike you and I, who, you know, we've made our choice to pursue certain paths, anyone who finds themselves as a nanny is not making that decision that when I grow up, I want to be a nanny.
Yes.
When I grow up, I want to be a DM. Nobody makes that decision. So they find themselves in that place because of the circumstances that they're going through. Yeah.
Actually, you're right. It's a lot of them, if you speak to them, they imagined their lives being very different. Actually, my current nanny, I stayed with her for 5 years. I'm consider myself a bit lucky.
Wow, you're a keeper. You're a keeper.
So the initial years when I met her, she expressed to me, she told me what her goals and dreams were. She's always wanted to work in an NGO. She went all the way up to Form 4.
Oh, wow.
But circumstances pushed her to take domestic work. But she has a great attitude. She's a quick learner and even helped me create my cookbook. But she was really key. I have a cookbook, my planted kitchen cookbook, and she was key, a very key person in bringing that cookbook alive. So you're right. It's not that they imagined this is the work they'll do, but they found themselves there. So how do you pick the ones that are able to, you know, in your business, you have a nanny recruiting agency. How are you able to tell the one who's kind of gonna make it, you know, in this profession?
So one lesson that I learned that was very difficult, took me a while to get there, is that good is relative. So I may call a referral who's worked with her for 5 years and they say, oh, she's a good girl. Yet for them, good is really they can make a good meal. And maybe good for me, I want someone who can take care of the kids. Or I want someone I can say, you know what, if I'm late on payments, she can still consider me. So good is relative. Good is not, remember, we must come out of the corporate mindset.
True.
And now learn to, these dynamics are different.
Yeah.
In the sense when you say this worker is good from a referral, what does that mean? You know, when you're introducing your nanny to me before, you're saying she can cook well, you're saying she's made a good cookbook, you know, she's very warm, and that's for you. That may not work for someone else. There's someone else who says, you know what, I come home at 10 p.m. I want a super good meal. Whether you're kind or warm, I really don't care. It's just that, you know. So you really have to get to understand when a client tells you this is a good worker. What does good sound? What is good to you? Good may not necessarily be good for me.
So just like any relationship, expectations have to be communicated.
Absolutely.
From the word go.
Absolutely. In fact, for you now to understand these dynamics, you must work with expectations.
Okay.
How to manage expectations both on the end of the employer and also of the worker. You know, we don't sometimes imagine they have expectations as well, but that's just the marrying part. Expectations on both. You marry that, then we have a good match.
So I've come to you, I have this expectation. She has to be able to cook, she has to be able to take care of children, and maybe 50% in terms of like cleanliness, because we know you can't get everything. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's what everybody needs to expect. To understand is that you cannot get a full package. Like, it's really difficult. So how where do I start my search? Should I start online? Agencies, bureaus, there are people who are out here really wondering, like, where do I start the search?
Okay, I think, let me paraphrase that. Not the where, but what. What is it that I'm looking for? Because a relative may come in handy more than an agency sometimes. Because when you get to understand the what, it makes it easier than the where. So what are my primary needs? What is it that I'm expecting from this worker? What is the feel that I want of this girl? What are their expectations as well? You also said about your worker or your girl that she had dreams. What are their dreams? There's someone who's saying, I want to work for 2 years only and probably build up and go back to school. And I want someone who can take care of my kid from the time they're months old till they're a teenager. So managing those expectations is what matters. But at the end of the day, in all your needs, we also want to look at some other things. What's the attitude of this worker? So either your needs are this or this. What are the expectations they have? What are their attitudes? What feel do they give you when you interact with them? So whether you want someone who can cook a 5-course meal or someone who can take care of my kids, those are the underlying things that you want to know from the worker.
And obviously budget, because I mean, you can get let me paraphrase. You can get the full package, but are you ready to pay for the full package? So what is the standard? Because I've heard of people paying as little as 5,000, 6,000. Today, I mean, we kind of need to consider inflation. A lot of these workers, many have families back home. So when you pay them that, 5,000, 6,000, are you really considering inflation? And then you've got the ones that pay really well. So, going by the market rate or even statutory obligations, what should we be paying them?
Well, that's a tricky one. Of course, the law has its standard. I think it's 8,500. I'm not quite sure. But what I would say is this. The full package is also relative. So full package may be for someone 30,000. The people who call me and say, Racheal, I want a 30K girl. There's someone who says, you know what? Looking at my pay right now, I need to work. This is my pay. There's no way I can afford to pay a girl 10 or 15,000. So full package again is agreeing on the two of you. Because there's someone who will tell me, I don't even want a trained nanny. I don't. I'll do it myself. I don't even want someone who can make a 5-course meal or even a 2-course meal. I just want someone who I can be able to train from scratch. Are they willing to take X, Y, Z? So if there's a willing buyer, willing seller,
it's good to go.
Yes.
And that's what is, very common here. I don't know. Again, we need to confirm on the laws and what can they take you to the labor court for. But you're saying the standard is 8,500, right? So, but you'll find that because there's either oversupply of the workers, they will willingly take slightly less than that. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, because that's just the work environment. And again, I feel, when you want somebody to work really well for you, you also have to compensate them at the level where they feel appreciated. I think that's the key thing, because if you underpay them and expect, like you said, 5-course meal, excellent house, excellent child care, and you want to pay very little, you're definitely not going to keep that person, right?
What I'd say is this, and this is what I tell my workers, my clients rather. I tell them, there are many ways of compensating a worker. You may not, do the 10,000 or 15,000, but can you be appreciative? When they're going for Christmas, can you do a small package?
Yeah.
And it goes a long way.
It does.
It does. So it's really not just in the salary at the end of the day. Looking at even your corporate job, you don't work for XYZ company because of really just the salary.
Yeah,
there are so many
that is
other
so
things. So if she genuinely has a sick child, how do you come in to help? You know, those things at the end of the day, I have had literally workers who leave a 15K job to 6K job. I have seen it in my day. And
what are they going for?
They're going for the environment. So this lady hears me. When I tell her that I genuinely have a problem, she'll get out of the way to help me. You know, she'll consider me. If I'm unwell, she'll really want to know, how are you doing? Can I take you to the hospital? You know, those are the dynamics. And that's why I'm telling you, this is not a sector where you get in with everything on paper. Everything on paper may look nice, but when you get there, it's not as nice as you think.
In fact, that's the next thing I was going to ask, because a lot of us do verbal contracts with this, with our nannies, our house managers. It's a verbal contract. Come, start. This is what I'm going to pay you. I'll give you certain amount of days off. And if anything disappears or whatever, if we have a disagreement, we can sit and I'll give you a few weeks notice. That's it. Should we consider having it down on paper? Because I've also heard of people who had nannies, they released and the nannies took them to the labor court for one reason or another. Like that has happened. So should we have something on paper?
Well, again, I think you're thinking about it so corporately.
But if I'm in the labor court, there won't be corporate. I'll be paying her a lot of money.
I know, but you see, this is an industry where they don't understand what contracts are.
Okay.
It's not very enforceable in the sense for them to agree. You know, we said on paper, I'll be paying you on 5th, and you should not do, and you should do, and you should not do. The nature of the industry itself, with removing the labor court, just think about it, even with your nanny today. You know, when they first came, there are so many things you agreed on, and some have become so liquid. So it's okay, you can do your Sunday off, but this Sunday niko na wageni.
Yeah, please come.
Please stay. So
yeah,
you see,
exactly.
It's very liquid. At the end of the day, do you have an agreement? Do you have a mutual understanding? Are you relating with each other heart to heart? At the end of the day, women relate heart to heart. If we can be able to have that, I am sure we'll not even get to the extent of the labor court.
It is so true.
Yeah.
It is so true. But then there are still obligations that we need to take care of. And a lot of people, I think, overlook them. For instance, NHIF, just meeting the threshold for payment, and so on and so forth. So what are some of these things we need to look out for?
So first of all, NHIF. NHIF is very important. We've had a nanny for a while who's diabetic, and NHIF has really come in because there are times the sugar levels have spiked. Even for them, you know, the budget is really so tight. They can't be going to the hospital the way you'd step in one day and here, you know, it's quite a budget for them. So just not from the place of enforcing it, but even also helping them understand, because they feel like, you know, most of them say, let them give me the money, I'll pay for myself in NHIF, which doesn't have work.
Oh, yeah.
So also helping them understand why they need this. You know, what you're also saying, I've advised so many of my girls to also have a SACCO loan, you know. Most of them, or SACCO, to get into a SACCO that works for them, so that even small things, they can be able to get a small SACCO loan, maybe pay for school fees and things like that. So it's not really in looking at the statutory requirements, but really, how do you guide this person? Knowing that you're more exposed than they are, knowing that you understand more than they do. How can you help them in such a way they move from the time, you know, they're in your home and leave, they come from point A to point B.
Yeah.
You're guiding them on how to change their lives. Yeah.
And that, I think that's so important, because if you yourself took a job, you would love to know, how am I going to grow in here?
Absolutely.
And I think that's a very without over-promising, it's an important thing to think about if you're going to hire a house manager. Exactly what plan do I have in the next 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, if she's going to stay with me that long? And let's talk about Gen Z. The Gen Z, younger millennial house managers. Those are hard to deal with because they're so woke. They understand themselves. And you're saying they may not even know contracts, but they know contracts. They're actually really smart and sharp. And what I've noticed as a trait with this generation is that they're not very patient. After a while, if they're not seeing like you have a good plan for them, if you're not going to grow them, they're out. So that's why it's so important if you're getting them and you're hiring them to think about the plan. And it could be simple things as a course. It could be the savings, which is what we implement with my nanny. Nice. What else could people think about to just help them grow, or what you've seen?
I've seen some of my clients take their girls for tailoring classes. I've seen them take them for hairdressing classes. At the end of the day, it's just helping them in growth, broadening their horizons on what they can be able to achieve. So it's not cast on anything. You can agree on a way, can we? So you also want them to contribute. So for me, how I'd look at it, can you contribute something and I contribute for you so that you can be able in 1 year to achieve this? In 2 years, I've seen nannies who have Ubers. I kid you not, in Nairobi. Yes.
Oh, wow. So they have a chara, they work for you.
Yes, so they've grown, they've learned not to despise the small monies. You know, someone earning 10,000-15,000 per month, and you remove, most of the major expenses that you have, transport and food and all that, they're not doing that. If they're able to do that over years, it's actually good money.
Yeah.
I've seen people buy land.
Sure.
Yeah, I've seen them take their kids to university. Really, I'm so challenged by my girls. It's just how you help them begin to visualize life, in new dimensions, in new horizons, like I said. And it's a relationship, just like any other relationship.
I agree.
Create a relationship with your girl. Yeah.
The interesting thing is, and I worked with somebody, a common friend of ours, to try and give them nanny training. Like really high level healthy food training. And one of the responses, actually most common response, was that if I train this person, they're going to leave. So it didn't take off because a lot of people have that attitude of, if I train her, I kind of want to keep her where she is.
Yeah, we're holding them.
Exactly. Yeah. So that she doesn't like see opportunities out there and she's off. And I would really love to challenge that attitude.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't work both ways. I found when you give, you receive. Correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, I've seen this, and being in this space, I've been able to just observe quite a lot. And I'm seeing how certain homes, a girl is in a certain home, cannot be able to stay there for 6 months, but they go to another home 5 years and they thrive. They're themselves. You talk to them, they are thriving on the inside. It's what you're saying, the environment you create. Does this person feel they belong? Do they feel I am part of this home? Do they feel even if they train me or they give me these skills, they know that they're empowering me to grow? So at the end of the day, you as an employer ultimately create the environment where this girl either thrives or feels, I can't stay here.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I've met somebody, probably recommended, and we are having that first interview because we cannot forget that there are security issues. We have had the horror stories.
Oh, yes. Oh.
So what is your checklist? What is that checklist that somebody should have when they're having that first interview?
Well, first of all, one thing, it doesn't matter whether they can clean a house like how. It doesn't matter whether they're the best worker ever. If the attitude is wrong, then we are on a red zone.
Oh.
Yes. So attitude is the first thing.
Describe attitude.
Attitude
so relative.
Attitude is the mindset of, these guys are rich, I'm poor, and so whatever they do, they've already put themselves in different classes with you. So they are feeling you're on another, so I should there's already this barrier between you two. Secondly, I'm just here to work, give me my money kind of attitude. You can feel it. By the time you're talking to someone, you can tell whether this person is warm, receptive, or they're like, yeah, let's get over and done with. They're rolling their eyes on you almost. So that's usually the first thing. Then the second thing, which is you've mentioned, which is very important. Do they have a goal? Do they have a long-term view of life? If they do, chances are they want to work, they're committed to their work so that they can achieve their goals. That's very paramount. So if it's someone who's just feeling, you know what, if I get a better place, I'll leave, they're not committed, you can pick it. You can even pick from their history. Where have you worked before? So someone comes and tells you, nimefanya kileleshwa for 3 months, nikatoka nikaenda Yaya Center for 3 months. You're like, already, there's no commitment. They're all over the place. So you want a feel of someone who's committed, consistent, and you can pick it even in their conversation. You can pick it even when you ask them, tell me why you left. Why you can feel it. You can, I think over time you just pick it. And then definitely the final thing, which is very important, is the aspect of you want to have an understanding of someone who's had a feel of them, and that's where probably agencies come in. This is someone, so like for me, top of my head, I can tell you this worker will not fit in this home. This one will not fit. Oh, this one wachana nae. On paper, she looks nice, but because I know what you're looking for, so that's what I actually tell my clients. I told my clients, no, this one wachana nae. She's good on paper. The profile says this, but I know where your heart is, and that's not where her heart is. Or this one, oh yeah, take this one. Definitely this one will work for you. So with time, you want to someone who has had a feel of them. So if you're talking to a referral and they said this is a good worker, what does good mean? Can you tell me? So like you told me, she's really good with the kids, or she's cooks a nice meal, she understands me, we have a relationship, she has a cookbook. You see, so now you're able to understand what good really looks like to you. Yeah.
Wow, interesting. And what about like background checks? How far can we go with background checks? I know personally, I love speaking with the last employer. That to me is a very important background check, if I can get it. But if you can't speak with the last employer, who would be, should we be doing, what do they call, good code of conduct?
Good conduct.
Yes.
It's good.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, and again, I tell all my clients this, human behavior is very unpredictable. Everything would look good on paper, but there's still mess. So, but the first thing is, of course, you want a feel of the family. You want a relative, you want to talk to the parents. The reason why you want to talk to the parents, because you also want to understand the relationship at home. Like I had a girl who, she had an issue where she had gotten employed. So because I had the contacts of the mom, I called and I asked the mom, what's going on with so-and-so? She told me, actually, the dad does not know that's the job she does. So every time the dad is around, because the dad was away, I think, working somewhere, she can't stay there because if the dad finds out, it's an issue for us as a family. So that's how I was, because I could not really understand. You've been such a good worker, so-and-so. Why is it all of a sudden you're saying you want to go home I could not really understand. But you see, because I had the contacts of the family, I'm able to talk to the mom, and actually till today we talk with the mom. You want to understand the dynamics of the family. You want to have a feel of it, either the mom, the dad, the siblings, then of course a former employer, if one or two, that's also nice, or a pastor somewhere, because for me, I think we also work with churches a bit. So you also want to know the community that they're relating with, just to have a feel of this person. But again, that still does not mean
it's not a guarantee.
It's not a guarantee.
Yeah.
Human behavior is very erratic and unpredictable.
One of the things people say why they can't be super nice, and here again it's relative, and all the things you were saying about I want to build this person, I want to pay for them, this ABCD, is again there's so much mistrust, and I don't think it has come from nowhere. I think they have been nice to a girl A, girl B, and it wasn't reciprocated. Either they left suddenly or left with Mother Rao, things like that. And so how do we maintain again, it's tricky because it's not a corporate relationship. You want to treat this person as family, but they're also working for you. So what are some of the things that draw boundaries with that so that we make sure both parties are kind of protected?
Okay, so let me first answer this by helping you understand. I mentioned before, nobody who works as a nanny planned for that. So that should already tell you their background. Their background is very unstable. They've grown up in polygamous systems, or a mother left them with a grandmother. So the formative years, from a psychological perspective, were very troubled. That's where they learn attachment. That's where they learn love. That's where they learn commitment. They lacked that. So it doesn't matter. When you enter with that kind of mindset, I had to learn that. Because remember, you're dealing with one. Me, I deal with
many.
Every day.
Exactly.
So it took me a while to just sit back and ask myself, why is this pattern? It's like a broken pattern. Here, the same. It's like you can almost predict how they'll behave, one after the other. And I realized it's their background. They're very unstable. So they don't know commitment.
Wow.
They don't know love. They don't know attachment. They don't know, I can't do this to Wanjiru. No, Wanjiru is my friend. They don't know that. That is new. You're the one introducing that to them. So you're expecting something from someone they don't have that capacity.
Wow.
They don't have capacity for empathy, sympathy, those things which you learn in your formative years. So that already gives that away. As much as you'd want to do that and expect something, limit your expectations. So know you're growing this person without expecting this in return. That yes, they may wake up one day and say, I want to leave.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never seen it that way. That is very eye-opening that, from a psychology perspective, they already have traumas. Maybe they
Absolutely.
have. Yeah.
Yes.
And those are informing their current decisions. And that's why they can't relate, they can't give back.
And that's why they don't trust you fully.
Wow.
Because trust is foreign for them. Commitment is foreign for them. They don't know that. And that's why they'll treat your child in a way you're wondering, why? Why can't you apologize? Why aren't you being so warm to my child? They don't know. They have no capacity. They are learning that from you. Yeah.
It gives you a new sense of perspective, I think, when you hear that, and just giving them compassion, when you think about it. And if you ever heard their stories, I'm sure you've heard their stories, and they're really sad.
I stopped crying. I had to stop crying because I kid you not, I would not sleep at night just thinking the things they needed, they had to go through to get to where they are. It's so traumatizing. In fact, for me now, I don't like hearing that.
Yeah, you actually don't go into the details.
Yeah, because until you get to understand why they didn't even go to school, why they would go for days without a meal. They'd watch their children being mistreated. Till now, they are married here. This man leaves them, so they have children here and here. And it's really recreating the same environment that they grew up in. So once you get to learn that, your heart goes out for them. Yeah.
And like you said, now you adjust expectation and give without expecting anything in return. And for me, I think that I'd even challenge people, if they can, to offer 1 or 2 free counseling sessions for them, if they can. What do you think?
Yeah, very nice. Yeah.
Yeah, because just to also help them sort of process, that initial trauma, so that when this person leaves your home, they're not the same.
Yeah.
They're not, and it's not even about financial support. Even the emotional and psychological support that you gave this person completely changed their lives and maybe change generations. Because that bitterness, that anger, I could imagine it's just passing down to their kids.
And they are not aware. They really are not aware.
Yeah.
During that time, they don't know. There's a girl who came at the center recently, and I could tell she doesn't need a job. She needs help. She's just somewhere. And I could really tell she's off. So in her mind, she thinks I need another job because I need money. But you can tell emotionally, she's all over the place. She just needs to deal with whatever it is. But they just know how to run away and bury it and push it aside. After all, I need money for my kids. I need money for my kids. I need money. That's just all they're looking for. Yeah.
All right. So I think there are a couple of resources out there. And you guys are obviously one of them. Your company is Blueworld
Professionals.
Blueworld Professionals. And, you know, when you get this person, obviously part of them delivering what you need them to deliver is them understanding what they need to do. So obviously with either you do nanny training or you get some resources online on how to, I don't know, fold sheets or make a bed properly. Like, are there apps or do you do those trainings?
Yeah, we do, and some other agencies are also doing those trainings. So you can either bring your worker to be trained, or you can get a trained worker from us or any other agency.
And first aid is also really important.
Really important. Yes, especially for small babies. Yeah, I think it's very paramount.
Yeah, exactly. So, guys, I think you've had it. This has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much, Racheal, for taking the time. You can check her out, Blueworld Professionals, on Facebook and Instagram, I think, as well. And you have a YouTube channel that's upcoming. You'll be watching it, Racheal Wambui. Yes. Yeah. So I think for me, the challenge that I've gotten coming out from this conversation is to really remember you're dealing with a human being. With feelings, emotions, goals, dreams, ambitions. Never forget that. And that their background really informs how they behave. And if you can think of it from that psychology aspect, then you can show and extend more compassion and really treat them as decently as they need to be treated, whether it's reciprocated or not. But I think it's an important one because, nobody wants to go to the ghetto of no nanny, right? No, there's no being superwoman. Actually, I find it really interesting that women, they can afford a nanny but want to kind of do it all themselves. And I can tell you, with children, it's draining. You want to be the best form of you. If you can afford it, you want to be the best form of you, and also chasing your own goals and dreams and ambitions and not overwhelmed by everything that needs to happen in your house, right? So yeah, take the time and find out about Blueworld Professionals and all the others and how you can also grow the person that you have. So thank you so much. I want to thank Semabox for the production of this podcast. And I want to encourage you guys to keep watching, keep sharing, keep subscribing. Let me know what from this podcast was really impactful for you. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.